Beneath every step we take lies an invisible world hidden in plain sight, a universe not of stars and galaxies, but of microscopic life. It's the soil microbiome, billions of organisms, working silently in every handful of earth. Just 1 teaspoon of healthy soil can hold more living organisms than there are people on the planet. Bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, an entire web of life beneath our feet, shaping the very world above. We don't see it. We rarely think about it. Yet, without this hidden community, plants would not grow. Rivers would not flow the same. The air itself would be different. In fact, without the soil microbiome, life on Earth as we know it could not exist. These tiny engineers recycle nutrients, store carbon, filter water, and protect plants from disease. Their networks, like the threads of underground fungi, connect roots in ways that resemble the internet. Scientists call it the Wood Wide Web. Plants whisper to each other through this fungal highway, sending nutrients and even warning signals. And here's the astonishing part. This world beneath us has been evolving for hundreds of millions of years, long before humans planted their first seed. The soil microbiome has always been Earth's quiet caretaker. But in our rush to feed billions, to build cities, and to control nature, we've forgotten about it. We've plowed it, poisoned it, and left it exposed. And today, this hidden world is under threat like never before. This story begins with something too small to see, but too important to ignore. The future of farming, food, and even our climate may depend on what happens in this underground web of life. Because when we talk about the health of the soil, we are really talking about the health of the planet and ourselves. What is the soil microbiome? The soil microbiome is the vast, invisible community of life beneath our feet. It is not just dirt. It is a living ecosystem, a hidden web of bacteria, fungi, and microscopic animals that make the earth fertile. In just 1 gram of healthy soil, there can be more living organisms than there are humans on the planet. These organisms perform extraordinary work. Bacteria break down organic matter, fallen leaves, decayed roots, animal waste, transforming it into nutrients that plants can absorb. Fungi stretch their delicate threads through the ground, forming vast underground networks. These fungal highways extend the reach of roots, bringing plants water and minerals in exchange for the sugars they produce. Protozoa and nematodes, microscopic predators, help maintain balance, keeping populations in check while recycling nutrients back into the soil. Together, these organisms form one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth, a hidden engine that sustains all life above ground. Without them, soil would lose its fertility, crops would fail, forests would weaken. Even the planet's ability to regulate its climate would falter. And yet, for most of human history, this underground world was invisible to us. Only in recent decades have scientists begun to uncover its secrets, mapping its diversity, tracking its role in agriculture, and realizing just how deeply it connects to human health. But this vital system is fragile. Intensive farming practices, heavy tillage, excessive fertilizers, and chemical pesticides disrupt the balance. Species vanish. Networks collapse. What once was a thriving community becomes lifeless dirt. And when the soil microbiome suffers, the consequences reach us all. Food loses nutrients, harvests decline, and the natural cycles that protect our planet begin to unravel. The soil microbiome is the foundation of life. It is the quiet architect of fertility, resilience, and abundance. To understand it is to glimpse the true complexity of nature. To protect it is to secure the future of food, health, and climate itself. The microbiome as nature's engineer. Beneath the surface, the soil microbiome works as nature's finest engineer. It is a system of builders, recyclers, and guardians that quietly sustains the world above. Every plant, every harvest, every forest depends on its hidden labor. At the heart of this work is nutrient cycling. When organic matter falls to the ground, leaves, stems, roots, or animal waste, microbes immediately go to work. Bacteria and fungi decompose this material, breaking it into essential building blocks like nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon. These nutrients are then released back into the soil, ready to fuel new growth. Without this cycle, soil would quickly be exhausted. Unable to support life, the microbiome also builds soil structure. As fungi spread their filaments, they bind tiny particles together, forming stable clumps that create pockets for air and water. This prevents erosion, improves drainage, and allows roots to spread more easily. Even earthworms, part of this hidden community, enrich the soil as they tunnel, blending organic matter and creating fertile channels for roots and microbes alike. Another essential role is carbon storage. Through the work of microbes, carbon from decaying plants is locked deep into the ground, where it can remain for centuries. This makes soil one of the largest natural carbon sinks on the planet, helping to regulate Earth's climate. But the microbiome is not only an engineer of the land, it is also a protector. Certain bacteria defend plants by producing natural antibiotics, shielding roots from harmful pathogens. Others trigger plants to strengthen their immune systems, making them more resilient to disease and stress. In times of drought, symbiotic fungi help plants draw water from deep underground, keeping them alive in harsh conditions. Together, this invisible workforce sustains ecosystems, protects crops, and stabilizes the climate. And yet, it does so silently. Without recognition, the soil microbiome is nature's greatest engineer, one that we cannot afford to ignore. Farming practices in the microbiome, the way we farm, has a profound effect on the soil microbiome. Every plow, every chemical spray, every seed we plant shapes the hidden world beneath our feet. Some practices nurture it, others destroy it. Modern intensive farming often disrupts the delicate balance. Heavy tillage breaks apart soil structure, destroying the fungal networks that connect roots and recycle nutrients. Synthetic fertilizers, while providing short-term boosts, can overwhelm microbial communities, reducing diversity and leaving soils dependent on chemical inputs. Pesticides and herbicides, designed to eliminate pests and weeds, do not discriminate. Many also harm beneficial microbes. Over time, soils become compacted, lifeless, and less resilient. The results are clear. Yields decline. Plants become more vulnerable to disease and drought. Farmers respond with more chemicals and deeper tilling, a cycle that accelerates soil degradation. What once was living earth becomes little more than dust. But not all practices are destructive. Around the world, farmers are rediscovering techniques that protect and regenerate the microbiome. Cover crops feed the soil even when fields are not being harvested, keeping microbes alive and active year-round. Reduced tillage allows fungal networks to remain intact, building healthier soil over time. Organic matter, whether from compost or crop residues, restores nutrients and creates food for billions of microbes. Perhaps most promising are regenerative approaches that treat soil as a living system rather than an inert medium. Rotating crops, planting diverse species, and integrating livestock all help restore microbial life, mimicking the natural processes that built fertile soils for millennia. The choice is clear. Farming can either erode the life of the soil or revive it. And as the world faces the twin challenges of feeding billions and fighting climate change, how we manage the soil microbiome may prove to be one of the most important decisions of our time. Soil and human health, an invisible connection. The soil microbiome does not just shape the health of ecosystems. It also shapes us. The link between soil and human health is ancient, direct, and far stronger than most people realize. Every crop we eat begins its life in the soil. The vitamins, minerals, and protective compounds we depend on are first processed by microbes underground. When soil is alive and balanced, it produces nutrient-dense food. When it is degraded, food loses its vitality. A tomato grown in depleted soil may look the same as one grown in healthy soil, but its nutritional content can be dramatically lower. Scientists are also uncovering surprising parallels between the soil microbiome and the human microbiome. Just as diverse microbes in the gut keep our bodies healthy, a diverse community in the soil keeps ecosystems strong. In fact, many of the beneficial bacteria found in our digestive systems share evolutionary roots with those found in the earth. Exposure to these organisms, whether through food or contact with the natural environment, may even help train our immune systems and reduce the risk of certain diseases. But when soils are stripped of life through chemicals, erosion, or pollution, that invisible connection weakens. Nutrient-poor food contributes to hidden hunger, a condition where calories are abundant, but essential micronutrients are lacking. Modern diets may fill our stomachs, but without healthy soils, they do not always nourish us. The soil also influences the safety of the food we eat. A vibrant microbiome suppresses harmful pathogens in the ground before they ever reach our crops. When this balance is disturbed, dangerous bacteria can spread more easily, threatening food security and public health. This connection between soil and human health is a reminder that our bodies and the earth are inseparable. The microbes that sustain fields also sustain us. To care for the soil is to care for our own well-being. And in a world where health challenges are rising, this hidden bond may be more important than ever. Climate change and the soil microbiome. The soil microbiome is deeply intertwined with the planet's climate. It is both vulnerable to change and a powerful tool to fight it. Rising temperatures and erratic rainfall disturb microbial communities, drying out soils in some regions and flooding them in others. As conditions shift, the balance of bacteria and fungi changes, with some species vanishing while others spread unchecked. This instability weakens soil's ability to store carbon, hold water, and sustain crops. At the same time, healthy soils are one of our greatest allies against climate change. By locking carbon deep underground, microbes prevent greenhouse gases from escaping into the atmosphere. In fact, soils store more carbon than all the world's plants and the atmosphere combined. Protecting and restoring the microbiome is not just about agriculture. It is about stabilizing the climate itself. But degraded soils release carbon instead of capturing it, accelerating the very crisis we are trying to prevent. The choice before us is stark. Nurture the soil microbiome as a climate solution, or neglect it and face deeper instability. The future of soil science in laboratories and fields across the world, scientists are racing to unlock the secrets of the soil microbiome. DNA sequencing now allows researchers to map thousands of species at once, revealing complex networks once invisible. New insights are showing how microbes can boost yields naturally, reduce the need for synthetic chemicals, and even protect crops from climate stress. Farmers, too, are becoming soil scientists in their own right, experimenting with regenerative practices, monitoring soil health, and learning how to work with, rather than against, the living earth. Governments and organizations are beginning to recognize soil as more than just dirt. Policies are slowly shifting toward conservation, restoration, and resilience, and yet the work has only begun. The soil microbiome is vast, far more diverse than the rainforest or the ocean. We have only scratched the surface of its mysteries. The more we learn, the clearer it becomes. Our future depends on what happens in this hidden world. The hidden web of life beneath our feet lies one of the most powerful ecosystems on Earth, silent, invisible, and yet essential to everything we know. The soil microbiome feeds us, protects us, and even helps stabilize the climate we depend on. And still, most of us walk across it without a second thought. If we choose to ignore this hidden web, we risk eroding the foundation of life itself. But if we choose to care for it, through farming, conservation, and respect for the living earth, the rewards are immeasurable: healthy food, resilient ecosystems, and a climate in balance. The soil microbiome is not just science, it is a story of connection. Every handful of soil is alive with billions of lives that sustain our own. And in protecting them, we are, in truth, protecting ourselves. This is the hidden world beneath our feet, a world that may hold the key to our survival.